state an entire economy dependent on agriculture. But now there's a new culture in the state with a new track. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa.
Definitely some close quarters racing, to say the least.
In dominating fashion, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch. He is taking his Toyota in Billy Blue Racing back to victory lane.
Absolutely flawless, bottom, top, wherever he goes, with lap traffic or by himself. Ron Hornaday has been the dominant driver. Boy, it's a real dogfight right now.
It's been 2.5 months since anyone other than Hornaday or Busch have been to victory lane. Will a new name rise to the top here at this new track for the series? The lights are on. The best show in NASCAR is about to begin, and you are about to be set up. Welcome to the setup, coming to you live from my home state of Iowa. Hello, everyone. I'm Krista Voda. Opening weekend of college football, always a big deal in the Hawkeye State. Iowa playing Northern Iowa. Now, I'm a UNI grad, so I had to wear my purple. Any other weekend, I would root for the Hawkeyes. And I needed to say that because I've had to explain that to a lot of people here, why I wasn't wearing the gold. But now that football is over, all eyes have turned from the gridiron to the starting grid for this, the very first Truck Series race at Iowa Speedway. You know, this isn't the only new track on the series schedule. In fact, the last 2 weeks in a row, Truck Series drivers have baptized a new track. Last week, we were about 5 hours east of here, blowing through the Windy City. Here's a look back at our first race at Chicago.
The first ever race at Chicagoland Speedway. 36 trucks come to life, a great crowd on hand.
We've got 20 trucks that qualified within 1/2 a second of each other. These trucks, they do run wide open, and how long, they don't know yet. But that really brings the field together. And the field is tight, and guys are running side to side down in the corners. When you get under another guy, you're going to have a tendency to get loose. We're going to see guys on the bottom of the racetrack struggling for grip down there, and these guys keep these trucks going straight.
TJ Bell gets turned around. Here comes Bell up.
Oh, he's trying up the track.
Look out. A close call there. TJ Bell back up the racetrack. Great driving to stay away from him.
Oh, man, that looked huge. Taylor he gets on the humps there a little bit, bounced up into David Starr. David Starr looked like he came down the hill just a little bit. Taylor Mawson was there. They made contact. Skinner gets hit. Look at the job Cook and Carmichael do getting through the middle. And look at Stacy Compton. A great job by him.
Todd Bodine, Kyle Busch. Battle for the lead.
A year ago, Kyle Busch swept the Nationwide and Sprint Cup Series races at Chicago.
These 1.5-mile racetracks have been good to Todd Bodine. The inaugural race at Chicagoland Speedway. The victor, Kyle Busch.
2 in a row for Kyle Busch.
This now is the 5th track that Kyle Busch has won in all 3 series of NASCAR.
How the points stand. Tons of great battles throughout this list. Several drivers fighting to stay in the top 10. Up top, it's still Hornaday, but Matt Crafton is not going down without a fight. Ray Dunlap is standing by with 1/2 of that championship battle.
Well, thank you, Krista. You know, last week at Chicago was certainly an opportunity where Matt Crafton could have capitalized, and I think back about ORP, the same thing. But tonight, you've really out-qualified Hornaday. Matt, can you make up some points here in Iowa?
You can definitely make up some points. I mean, just everything's got to work out your way. I mean, we thought we had it last week. We had a really good truck, and we had, I mean, definitely a shot at winning the thing, and just the pit strategy didn't fall our way, and with that long green flag run, and actually quartered right front tire. But this Menard's Ideal Door Chevy is pretty good. It rolled off the trailer and was really good. It's a brand new truck. The first lap it turned on a racetrack was yesterday, so this says a lot for what these guys bring in the racetrack, and we're going to be tough all year.
We had a lot of testing yesterday, Matt. Lots and lots of laps. Tell me what you expect for the racing conditions tonight here at Iowa.
It's going to be awesome. When everybody fired off, everybody's running the yellow line, and we just kept working on making our truck work in the second groove. We actually got my truck to run just as fast in the second groove as it was on the bottom, so I think that's going to be a benefit for tonight. So places, I mean, it's got some rough spots down here in 1 and 2, and it's definitely going to be side-by-side racing. It's going to be awesome tonight.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Krista?
All right, thanks. That's Matt Crafton. Of course, Ron Hornaday sitting in great position, 220 points ahead, but he will be the first to tell you this thing is far from over. Well, a lot of people think there's nothing more in Iowa than cornfields, but as my coworkers have learned over the last few days, there is a whole lot more. Timothy Peters has not only never been to this track, before this trip, he had never been to this state. Now he is hooked, and after you see this race, well, you will be too. Stick around, we are just getting warmed up.
Coming up on the setup, we'll sit down with the designer of Iowa Speedway, NASCAR champ Rusty Wallace. And it's time to check in on this year's crop of rookies to see how they stack up in the Rookie of the Year battle. All this, plus truck racing in Iowa for the first time ever when the setup returns live on Speed.
The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series setup on Speed is brought to you in part by Camping World. Visit campingworld.com for the largest selection of toy haulers. A trip back home, but the rookies have been waiting for this one too. They are, for the most part, the only ones who have raced here. Welcome back to the setup from Iowa. The truck's out on the grid, ready to go. You know, the rookies, why do they have an advantage? Well, the trucks have never raced here, but other series like Camping World East, Nationwide, ARCA have, and most of our rookies have been in at least one of those races. So who has the edge tonight, and who has the advantage for winning Rookie of the Year?
The 2009 Ray Bestis Rookie of the Year honors are starting to take shape. With only 15 out of 25 races being counted for rookie points, last week's race in Chicago marked the beginning of the end of that battle to see which driver can accumulate the best 15 race season. In fourth place, running a limited race schedule, is the former motocross superstar, Ricky Carmichael.
Ricky Carmichael with a great start, started fourth today.
He's having a solid run. I think it's important for him to put it all together here tonight.
He's had some flashes of brilliance, but moreover, the crossover from 2 to 4 wheels has the greatest of all time looking a bit, well, not so great. In third is ARCA phenom James Busher, who cracked the top 5 back in Milwaukee and has been pretty consistent ever since.
James Busher causing problems for the 23 and the 51.
If Busher can stay on the lead lap, look for the Max Force International Ford to be competing for a win shortly. Runner-up is Washington's own Taylor Malsum. The young Seahawk has been proving that he was a great off-season pickup for Randy Moss Motorsports.
Despite the fact they've been on pit road a number of times this afternoon, this young kid continues to soldier on.
You got a good truck, you're doing a hell of a job.
The number 81 Toyota has been making plays since Daytona, scoring 7 top 10s and only 1 DNF. And leading the rookie points is Cup and Nationwide Series veteran Johnny Sauter. At the beginning of the year, the driver of the Fun Sand Chevy looked like a kid playing in the sand, but since then has rebounded, scoring 6 top 10s in the last 12 races.
Rewind again, Johnny Sauter to the outside, trying to take the position back.
With 8 races remaining, the Ray Bestis Rookie of the Year honors are still up for grabs.
Still up for grabs indeed. There you see our top 3 contenders right now. Johnny Sauter has the advantage, and I believe our pit reporters are standing by with some of our rookies. Ray, who have you got?
Well, Chris, I just jumped in a truck, and we just got done with driver introductions, and we're rolling off right here, and I got the Billy Blue Special with me right here. Eric Almirola on this side, and Brian Eichler. And Brian, you've got a lot of experience on this racetrack. Is that going to pay off for you tonight?
I hope so. We've worked so hard on our Mickey Seekers or Toyota tonight. All weekend. We struggled a little bit on our test yesterday. We made leaps and bounds of changes today. I think we got a pretty good truck, so we're excited.
Let me get over here real quick and talk to Eric. Tell me about this racetrack. Is it one of your favorites?
It's becoming one of my favorites. We came here for the Nationwide race, and I had a lot of fun there, and we didn't get the finish we wanted to, but Our truck's really good. It seems to be really good in race trims, so just want to thank Graceway Pharmaceuticals for coming on board again this weekend. They've been a big help for us and helping Billy out, so it should be a good race. This racetrack's pretty awesome.
All right, a couple of fast young guys right here and another fast one standing by with Adam.
Indeed, Ray, if you wanted to find Mike Skinner's name on the speed charts this weekend, you simply need to look at the top, and that's where you will begin tonight. On the pole again, how do you take advantage of that, Mike?
Well, I'm just really, really proud of my guys and everybody at Randy Moss Motorsports for getting a truck that was fast enough to do that, and Toyota Des Moines for coming on here. Our sponsors, the PC Myler Navigator and Excite Batteries. Everybody's just kind of put a group effort and made this all possible for us tonight.
He's one of the great drivers in Truck Series history. He's looking to put a stamp in the inaugural race here at Iowa tonight. Krista?
All right, thanks, Adam. And that's where we're located, right in front of his truck, his crew getting it ready. I've been trying to stay out of the way best I can. You know, I've been talking a lot about Iowa, but our entire broadcast team hails from this area. We have Ohio and Indiana in the pits, and upstairs in the booth, Nebraska, Michigan, and Michigan, with Michael Waltrip in Atlanta, our reigning series champion, Johnny Benson filling in. Rick, a lot of Midwestern values up there.
Exactly, a bunch of Midwesterners up here. Hey, you know what? Our first stop here at Iowa Speedway, Phil, you would normally think that'd be difficult for guys to maybe get a feel for the racetrack, but we had a lot of time on the track yesterday.
We really did. We had 4,200 laps run in the practice sessions yesterday and today. And normally when you come to a new racetrack, it's levels the playing field. We saw that at Chicagoland, other than the fact that Kyle Busch won again. But Ron Hornaday, who has been dominating this season, you know, last 2.5 months, Krista said nobody's won but Hornaday and Kyle Busch. Hornaday struggled a little bit, had an 11th place finish, one of his worst finishes of the year. He's struggling here in qualifying. He qualified 15th, the first time in 27 races that he's not starting in the top 10. This may be an opportunity for Matt Crafton or somebody else to see some momentum here and get somebody beside those two guys in victory lane. And John, you've been here before. You've tested a cup car and a truck. What is it going to take to have a good truck here?
I'll tell you what, Phil, the thing that is that you can run the bottom here, you can run the top. This track was designed so well that the top is just as fast as the bottom. The trick is those 6 hours or so of practice I had is to choose what lane they want to run in during this race.
Yesterday they had telemetry during that practice time. Today it was their final practice. They spent about an hour and a half on the racetrack, and the guys that rose to the top were the guys who are going to start up front, as they qualified very well at this track. Krista?
Absolutely. Mike Skinner, of course, the truck that we are right in front of. And look what we have right in front of that truck. This is not only a very cool track, it's a very cool trophy. This is what will go to the winner of the Lucas Oil 200 tonight. It is part trophy, part clock. It lights up, has the fuel pump with the corn kernels in here as well. So very cool trophy. It's extremely heavy. It is extremely cool, and this is just such a great facility. Of course, Mike Skinner, one of the guys who is contending for the win tonight, but someone else you always have to keep your eye on would be Ron Hornaday. Adam, have you caught up with our points leader?
Indeed, I have. 220 points, the advantage for Hornaday over Crafton entering tonight's race, but you start 15th, so how do you manage this race from there, Ron?
I don't know. We've tried everything. We're just, you practice during the day and you qualify here pretty cool out. We're just a little free, so hopefully it plays in our hands tonight. So I know we got a good truck. Longhorn Chevrolet's been good, so we'll just play it by. Maybe Rick's got some strategy. Who knows?
His boss won in Atlanta earlier tonight. Ron Hornaday trying to help Kevin Harvick Incorporated go 2 for 2 today. Krista?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be tough. One of his worst qualifying position of the season, but Hornaday always tough. We mentioned the veteran Skinner as well, and some of these newcomers. Everyone wants to be the first-time winner at this track for the Truck Series. So who will it be? We're getting closer to that answer. Stick around, a lot more here on the setup from the Iowa Speedway when we come back.
My friend Derek Nealon here, he's going to set the Guinness Book of Records for the most years of corn in 15 minutes as a tribute to the Iowa inaugural Camping World Truck Series race. Go. Here, number 14, 7.5, halfway. Time. All right, 1, 2, 3. 19 and 15 minutes. New world record. Woo!
have to get some good Iowa speed corn. Eric Nealon, I don't know, with the verdict still out if he did break the world record, but very cool nonetheless. And very cool to see a huge crowd on hand here for the very first Truck Series race here at the Iowa Speedway. Drivers beginning to get ready as they are approaching to their trucks. Mike Skinner, our pole sitter, down here taking some pictures as well. You know, Iowa may not have major league teams, but we do have major league caliber fans who have been foaming at the mouth for anything to call their own. Probably the most famous movie shot in Iowa, Field of Dreams. Famous line from that movie, build it and they will come. Well, as Rusty Wallace found out, they certainly have.
In the twilight of his career, Rusty Wallace made peace with more than 2 decades worth of fans. In return, he spent the end of his race career crafting their future.
When I was asked to design the first ever NASCAR style track, I was honored because no other driver's been asked to do that, or else at least done it that I know of. And my first question was, look, there's so many people asking to build racetracks, but all of a sudden they always fall through with no financing. Do you have the money? And it was kind of sketchy for a while. Do we have the money now? We got the money, let's roll.
You get this, man, it's gonna be a good racetrack, okay?
When we sat down and thought about it a lot, I said, one thing for sure I know I want is a track with multiple banking angles, because I'm so tired of this thing called the arrow push, where you get behind a car and you can't pass a car. I said, guys, we just need to simply change lanes. If we can get out from behind a car and get up in more banking where we can run just as fast in the outside lane, should be successful.
For the 6th time, Rusty Wallace wins at Richmond, tying him with the most wins with Darrell Waltrip among the active drivers.
Of all the tracks that I drove, Richmond had a lot of influence to the construction of Iowa.
I see some marks on the side of your car here, Rusty. Souvenirs are from whom?
A little bit of Dale Earnhardt, a little bit of Alan Quick, a little bit of everybody, and a bunch of tough customers out there.
Creating Rusty's Field of Dreams wasn't as simple as build it and they will come. The track had to be different. It had to have character for the camera, the competitor, and the customer.
We built the 7/8 mile track, and there's no 7/8 mile track in the world. We wanted to keep it real small, but big enough to create some action, and the compound banking and the whole thing. And we even built it in an area which doesn't have NFL, doesn't have NBA, and racing is a big deal over there, and people turn out in groves to support us, and it's a neat place to have it.
Drivers, start your engines!
The true deal wasn't going to happen until we got the nationwide cars, all 43 of them, on the track at Iowa.
Pace car is off. 60,000 people. The first nationwide series event ever at this beautiful facility, and these folks are ready.
And when they dropped the flag, those babies were 2 and 3 wide right to the very end. We were sold out, packed house, and it was an amazing day.
And look at this, he's going to the bottom right now. He chose the bottom, down into 3. Can he make it stick? High side seems to have it, and it is Keselowski.
I really think that the Camping World Truck Series is going to be amazing. I mean, you saw what happened in the nationwide race. They ran 2 and 3 wide. Man, I just got to believe that the truck's going to do at least that. And those guys drive a little bit more aggressive. There's a lot more body damage, a lot more slamming and banging and rooting around. And because of that, I think the people are going to be standing up throughout the race, seeing how physical they get and how much crashing and banging's going on. Those guys drive hard. It's probably one of the best races we've had all year long.
A huge promotion from Rusty Wallace for the Truck Series. Here are some of the track's milestones. The first race in all of the different series here at this track. But the Camping World Truck Series race, the Lucas Oil 200, tonight will be special for one single reason, if nothing else, the number 3 is back.
Single file off the corner of the body. Can't get there. Mike Skinner will go to victory lane.
Mike Skinner as the inaugural Super Truck by Craftsman Series winner.
What a great day for Mike Skinner.
GM Goodrich service truck really toted the mail today. I was really proud of it.
Mike Skinner is the first Super Truck by Craftsman Series champion.
There is Jay Sauter, first win of the year.
I tell you what, these Goodrich boys were awesome tonight.
The number 3 is going to win the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
In 1995, when Mike Skinner won that first championship, of course, Austin Dillon was about 5 years old, and tonight he makes his series debut in trucks. Are you excited?
Yeah, definitely. This is a place we really like to come, and it's a good place for us to bring the 3 truck, and just really excited tonight to be out here. There's a ton of fans out here. It's just a great event.
All All right, we're looking forward to it, and it's so great to have the three back in competition, Krista, in the Truck Series.
Absolutely, Ray. So cool to see the legend continue, and it's kind of come full circle. You were talking to Austin Dillon by that 3 truck. I am standing by Mike Skinner's truck. Skinner, of course, used to be the driver of that number 3. The buzz is in the air. We are getting much closer. Let's continue here trackside for tonight's opening ceremonies with the Invocation.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will all please rise and remove your masks for the presentation of donors by the Iowa Army National Guard. Our invocation this evening will be by Pastor Aaron Marie of the Iowa Speedway Ministry.
So we pray. God, we pause tonight to give you thanks for this spectacular evening here at the Iowa Speedway. We thank you for all of the men and women who have made this event such an awesome time. We pray for the safety of all of our teams and all of our fans here tonight. We also ask a special protection tonight for all of our men and women serving this great country all across this world. We ask this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
After such a wonderful pre-race concert, to present our national anthem this evening, please welcome again Capitol recording artist Luke Bryan.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
When you cross into this state, you are greeted by a sign that says Iowa, a great place to grow. Tonight, one man will grow his win record by 1. The trucks fire the engines next. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series setup is brought to you by Camping World's Destination Recreation Sweepstakes. Log on to campingworld.com/racing to enter to win weekly giveaways. This week, win one of 5 Adventure folding bikes. For the first time, the Cup Series is spending Labor Day weekend in Atlanta. They're racing at night. Drivers running out of time to make the chase. Be sure and tune in tomorrow night to see who can gain some ground. Back here at the Iowa Speedway, Newton, the town that sits about 40 miles east of Iowa's capital, just off of Interstate 80, Newton, Iowa. But tonight it's a new town for the Truck Series, the very first Camping World Truck Series race. And you can literally hear the excitement in the air. A fantastic crowd. They are doing away. They are ready for this very first Truck Series race to begin. Some great storylines in the race tonight. Ron Hornaday, our points leader, qualified 15th. Matt Crafton is up front. Is this when Matt Crafton begins his run towards a championship? Also, the number 3, the legendary number 3, back in the Truck Series. Mike Skinner won a championship with that number. Mike Skinner, by the way, is on the pole. TJ Bell starts alongside on the front row. And just in case you are joining us, we also potentially had a world record set for the amount of sweet corn. We're in Iowa after all. The amount of sweet corn eaten in 15 minutes. That was by one of Brian Scott's crew members. So we will keep you posted on whether that indeed was a world record. You see the drivers there. They have already strapped into their trucks. We're getting close for the engines to be fired. But this is a great crowd. It's been great weather all weekend. The trucks had a lot of practice, a lot of track time yesterday. Remember, they have never been on this track before for a race. A lot of these guys have tested here. A lot of our rookies have raced here in Camping World East, Camping World West, Nationwide, and ARCA events. Again, Ron Hornaday starting way back in 15th. Matt Crafton starts 3rd. The drivers are ready. The crowd is even more ready. A new chapter is about to begin. It is time to get this Iowa party started with tonight's command.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally come. Are you ready to go? NASCAR Camping World Truck Racing. Now for those four most famous words in motorsports, here's the President and Chief Executive Officer of Lucas Oil, Mr. Forrest Lucas.
Drivers, start your engines.
They call it America's place to race. The Iowa Speedway has proven itself with sellout crowds and incredible racing. Tonight, the best show in NASCAR gets its shot. You spent your day watching football, now prepare to blitz. The trucks in Iowa for the first time. The Lucas Oil 200 on speed starts now.
It's the unprecedented and unknown, where eagerness meets excitement.
It is hot and heavy and getting physical. Heavy-duty group of trucks that have all got it set on desperation mode right now.
A season filled with new winners.
You can almost see the confidence oozing through the windshield of the truck.
Baby, yeah!
New challenges.
You love seeing athletes accomplish things that no one else has ever done, and that's what's fixing to happen with this 33 truck.
The real history is being made. Ron Hornaday will win 5 races in the row in the Camping World Truck Series.
A new contender.
He is dogging the leader. That battle for the top spot continues. Here's a driver you would believe can vie for the championship this season.
And a new track.
My guess, we're going to see fireworks here very shortly when they turn them loose.
Welcome to Iowa.
The green flag is in the air. We're going racing.
Expect the unexpected.
And definitely expect great racing. Welcome to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series Lucas Oil 200 on speed. A gorgeous September evening in Iowa. 68 degrees, the sky is clear. We are ready for great side-by-side, door-to-door racing. Hello everyone, Rick Allen, Bill Parsons, and off injured reserve, we've got Johnny Benson, our reigning champion in the Camping World Truck Series. Now we come to another new racetrack. It's the second week in a row. Phil, does that favor a rookie or a veteran?
You know, I'm not sure it favors a rookie or a veteran, but I think the crew chief is the guy that's going to be the one in demand tonight, because they did all their practicing really during the daytime. As a matter of fact, it was 110 degrees track temperature when they stopped practicing today. You saw the temperature 68 degrees. The track's going to be a lot cooler. All of these crew chiefs, Johnny, are really guessing what this racetrack is going to be like, not only at the beginning, but how it's going to change throughout the race.
Oh, it is. And Goodyear brought such a great tire that tire actually held up really well in the heat. So tonight, for guys like Ron Hornaday and that are starting back, I think that pit strategy may have a big decision on how they do unless the crew chiefs hit the setup perfect.
And Hornaday is definitely one of those guys we've got to keep our eyes on coming from the 15th starting position. Let's roll the starting grid across the bottom of the screen. Out front, Mike Skinner once again, 48th career pole, but just the first of 2009. Now let's take a look at our Z-Max track description.
What a great facility. 7/8 of a mile. The progressive banking we were talking about, 12 to 14 degrees. Johnny, you talked about it, side-by-side racing. Probably 3-wide racing we're going to see here.
We're definitely going to see some 3-wide racing. It's a great track. Don't know if you need to top or run the bottom.
You talked about strategy. Let's take a look at our Royal Purple race analysis. 36 trucks will be making their start here at the inaugural stop at Iowa.
As you can see, the pit window is a critical thing. That's from 90 to 100 laps. These these guys may possibly be able to stretch it and make this on one pit stop if the caution falls at exactly the right time. But I don't think we're going to see that. I think if we see a caution 40, 50, 60 laps, these guys are going to come in, John.
I think most likely they're going to do 2 stops, but if it goes green, it's going to be tough. They're going to have to make that decision.
Riding along with a few different drivers, Austin Dillon will be making his first ever start. Camping World Truck Series will keep a camera on him. Our Toyota on board with Timothy Peters. We'll see if he can keep the strong runs going since he's gone over to Red Horse Racing. We also have Ron Hornaday, our points leader in the Camping World Truck Series, looking to make it his 4th championship in this series. He has the big lead, but it's over this gentleman, Matt Crafton. We'll ride along with him as well and see how the points battle rounds out this evening after the 17th race of the 2009 season. Let's go trackside again before the green flag flies. Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Rick. You know, Kyle Busch has won 4 races this season, including the last 2 in our series. But he had to be in Atlanta today, so they needed another driver for that 51. And that driver is Brian Eichler. When we look at the Iowa Speedway, Brian Eichler has more experience at this track than anybody else in the field. Listen to this. He has raced here over 890 laps. And with all that practice we've had the last couple of days, I think the 51 could be the truck to beat tonight. Brian Eichler, the guy with the most experience in this field. Adam?
19-year-old Austin Dillon knows what it's all about to be successful in NASCAR racing. His father is Richard Childress. Tonight, though, he's doing something RC has not done in a while, going Truck Series racing for RCR. That 3 truck is back in, and his grandfather would love to see him go to victory lane tonight. After all, Richard Childress has celebrated 20 times in victory lane with that number 3 truck. He would love to do number 21 with his grandson Austin Dillon here this evening.
How exciting that is to see the number 3 back in the Camping World Truck Series. Mike Skinner obviously making it extremely famous at the beginning of the season.
How about the fans here?
It's
what
amazing.
A terrific crowd.
Build it and they will come. Well, sure enough, we've built the excitement. The fans have come out to see exactly what will happen with the Camping World Truck Series. Now, obviously, you know, we've pulled out all the stops, brought our defending champion of the Camping World Truck Series here. Obviously, you'd rather be on the racetrack right now, but what are you thinking as far as the strategy is going to play out for this race?
Well, you're right. I would love to be here, and with the testing, it's such a great racetrack. So the strategy, I think, right now at the beginning, like any race, is just stay out of trouble, find out which lane your truck does work best in, and then when you do that, you know, start relaying and communicating with the crew chief for the adjustments, because they're going to be different if you're running the bottom as opposed to the top.
You know, one thing I want to really keep an eye on is Ron Hornaday. We talk about him starting 15th, first time in over a year that he hasn't started in the top 10. And we heard him, he really struggled a little bit. He didn't know what to do with the type of weather conditions we're going to have, but he's going to find out here in just about 30 seconds.
Pace truck pulls off the racetrack. We're about to get underway. The inaugural race at Iowa Speedway for the Camping World Truck Series. Mike Skinner brings the field to the green flag. Crafton early on makes it 3 wide, takes the lead going through turns 1 and 2.
How about that? He wants to get 5 of those points back from that lead.
And Crafton second in the points. Now leading the field at Iowa Speedway.
That's a pretty gutsy move to do that right at the start.
Low spinner. Problems back in the back, the 92.
Stays out of harm's way, stays off the racetrack. Caution flag is out.
John Jackson gets turned around. That will bring the caution flag out on lap number 1. We hope Kim Lopez, our flag person, isn't too busy tonight.
You can see a little damage on the right rear corner. Had a little help there. He's already sideways. Probably got run into from behind a little bit. Does a nice job getting that truck down off the racetrack, though.
Well, and here it is. Like I say, these guys have had a lot of track time, but not in these nighttime conditions. And there just might have been a little bit of mistake there that caused that little bit of incident.
You mentioned it. Stay out of trouble early on in the race. And already, John Jackson turned around for our first caution. We'll be back for more of the Lucas Oil 200 from Iowa Speedway after these messages. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Camping World. Visit campingworld.com for the largest selection of toy haulers. And by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Drunk driving over the limit, under arrest. Fans of speed, fans of the Camping World Truck Series.
Where that sign was hanging on the fence.
I think that might have been our sign. That's okay. A souvenir from Iowa Speedway. The trucks taking on this 7/8 mile racetrack, and we've already seen 2 and 3 wide, well, on the first lap of racing. So multiple grooves around this track. We'll see how they do on the restart. There will be a single file restart. Matt Crafton out in front. Mike Skinner running second. Taylor Malsom is third. Brian Eichler. TJ Bell, after a career best start, starting second, has dropped back to 5th. Pace truck off, and Matt Crafton brings us back to the green flag.
Don't you know Matt Crafton would like to make a statement here to Ron Hornaday? I'm going to lead this race. I'm going to lead a bunch of this race. I'm going to gain some points on you.
And the only thing that he can worry about or think about is maybe Hornaday seeing him lead this and maybe him have a problem.
Problems again on the restart. The 08 gets turned around. That's Jamie Dick in the 08 this week. You see James Busher slow on the racetrack as well.
Jamie was another one of the drivers making his debut here in the Camping World Truck Series.
He was 19th when he got turned around or turned around.
There was definitely another truck involved. A little bit of left rear damage on that Neva Chevrolet. There's Jamie right there, right of your screen, the 08. Rick Crawford, the 14 right bound. He comes down the hill there. Todd was already there. They made a little bit of contact. You may have to look at the right front corner of Todd's truck.
Adam Alexander.
And a moment ago, Johnny Benson talking about the fact that Ron Hornaday may see Matt Crafton out front leading and perhaps cause him to think a little bit about tonight's race. Well, under that first caution of the evening, Hornaday noted that Crafton was in the lead, and he asked his spotter, Rick Corelli, how did Crafton get up there? So he already knows who's out front of this race. I'm not sure psychologically if that's good or bad for Crafton. I know Hornaday's very hungry, stuck back outside the top 10.
Matt Crafton starting third. Amazingly enough, a good start. Jumped the best. Next week, Big Block Thursday has what you need. The intense grassroots racing of Pink's All Out, the adrenaline-fueled chases of Jack, and the jaw-dropping danger of the wreck season finale. Don't miss Big Block Thursday. Thursday night beginning at 8 Eastern on Speed. This crowd is amazing.
I think I saw Shoeless Joe Jackson in the audience.
Did he come out of the corn?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is surrounded by corn. We've got actually a airport that is just behind the grandstands, and just a gorgeous facility. The first facility built with the safer barriers all the way around the racetrack.
Yeah, and also no concrete wall outside the safer barrier.
Was not retrofit to an existing racetrack, so they did a spectacular job here.
There's a good view of that right there. No concrete wall there, but a nice job of anchoring that system in place.
Oh, absolutely. And the way this race has started, they're probably glad there's not any concrete, but hopefully as Matt brings him to the green here, he's going to stay out front and hopefully get the most laps and most points as he can.
Green flag back in the air. Skinner chasing Matt Crafton as they go into turn 1.
Mike Skinner really wants that lead back, looks to the inside a little bit. I was talking to Mike in the garage area. He loves this truck. He said he hasn't had a truck this good in a long, long time.
Now looking to the outside. Johnny, you mentioned it earlier, multiple grooves around this racetrack. If you can't pass them on the bottom, you can go up a groove. Again, progressive banking from 12 degrees on the bottom to 14 up toward the top.
Yeah, and as you can see, that right now when the tires are good, the bottom's going to be pretty quick, but I think as tires wear and as the pace slows down just a little bit, that's when the top groove is going to start to have its advantages.
Great battle for third right here. Kyle Busch. I want to say Kyle Busch. Brian Eichler in the 51. Taylor Malsom. Eichler gets that spot. Now TJ Bell looks at the 4th spot. Now Taylor Malsom, he's able to get that. Ooh, got a little bit loose there.
A little wiggle out of TJ Bell. He was able to get by that 81 of Taylor Malsom, though, right?
And guys, you remember that race at Kentucky when Taylor was so good, everybody thought he was going to have a shot at winning the race that night? Well, this is actually the same truck that they had at Kentucky that night, although it looks very different tonight. They've got PC Myler Navigation on this truck tonight instead of his normal sponsor, but Taylor said he loves this racetrack and he loves the multiple grooves, so we'll keep our eye on that 81. Adam?
Matt Crafton out in front of the field, 14 laps into this race. That shouldn't be surprising at a short track, because in 7 of the last 10 races at facilities less than a mile, Crafton has finished in the top 10 7 times. But in all of those races, he's not led a lap. Tonight, he's already out front and trying to stay out ahead of Mike Skinner, who's dogging him down through the corner.
Guys, by the way, that 33 truck of Ron Hornaday has already moved his way into the top 10.
Got past Terry Cook in the 25. So Hornaday running 10, trying to chase down our race leader, Matt Crafton, second in the points.
Mike Skinner is worrying Matt Crafton to death for sure.
He is. I mean, there's a spot here where I think Matt's going to have to start moving up. But as he starts to move up, you see Skinner start to look down at the bottom. And as Rusty talked earlier, that's what you want to do, is change lanes. If guys run at the bottom, run at the top, he moves to the top, he runs at the bottom. As you see Ron Hornaday starting to make some really good ground. His truck looks really good.
Sure does. Gets by the 3 of Austin Dillon. Looks like the 81 truck of Taylor Mawson is pretty loose from the start of this race.
Just in front of that 33. Battle for the lead. Matt Crafton trying to hold up the 5 of Mike Skinner. Skinner using the bottom line around that yellow line on the lower portion of the track.
Perfect illustration of the side-by-side racing with a progressive banking here.
Let's see if he can make the pass as they go through 3 and 4. Sure enough, he gets in front of Crafton, and Mike Skinner is now your leader at Iowa Speedway.
And he's the second ever Camping World Truck Series leader at Iowa Speedway.
That's right.
You can almost see right where that line is, where the transition is. And as Mike was trying to go across that, you can see the truck starting to upset a little bit. The guys are going to have to worry about that the whole race, whether they're going to straddle that. You want to either be below it or above it, but you definitely have to cross it coming up off the corners.
How about going in? Do you have to have a certain line, or could you change your line when you get in?
Well, I think you can change your mind, but you either got to go in on the flat, either the lower or the upper, and then in the center you can cross over. Obviously, it's easier to go from the bottom lane up to the top. A little bit more difficult to go from the top down to the bottom.
Doesn't seem to bother Ron Hornaday. He can run anywhere on the racetrack, can he, Adam?
20 laps in, Rick, about 10 of those under green, and already Hornaday has gone from 15th to 7th. He likes the way his truck is handling. This is a race team that hasn't been good all weekend. They have fought tight. Rick Ridd, the crew chief, said before the race, we have done everything we can to free it up. We'll see if Hornaday can continue his progress toward the front of the field, right?
And you know, Adam, yesterday the guys were allowed to have telemetry on their trucks for the first time this season to do some testing here, because this being the first time we've ever run here with the Camping World trucks. But Hornaday's team only brought one truck, the one they're driving tonight. Well, let me tell you about TJ Bell. They had 2 trucks here, and he tested them both. Was very, very happy with each of the chassis, but he said he thought this one was a lot better for this track, and they're going to take the other truck next week to St. Louis. And I think that'll be true of many of the teams up and down pit road that had 2 trucks here this weekend. You'll see one compete tonight, and the other chassis saved for next week at Gateway.
There we see the distance between the 5 of Mike Skinner and that 88 of Matt Crafton. As soon as Skinner was able to get by, he is checking out. He has a 6/10 of a lead over Matt Crafton. TJ Bell runs 3rd. Johnny Sauter is 4th. Eric Almirola rounding out our top 5. Attention all you Digger fans, now you can get Digger on your computer and get free Digger videos, wallpapers, games, and more. Visit digger.ask.com today. Here at Iowa, we have Tread Cam. It is actually right in the racing groove. So
look out.
There you see the trucks going right over the top of these cameras. Very cool technology here at Iowa Speedway. Brian Eichler trying to hold off that hard-charging Colin Brown in the 6.
It's a battle for the 7th position. Colin Brown's truck was very, very good in today's practice. They struggled a little bit yesterday, but really caught on to it today.
Paul Brown is able to get by that 51 of Brian Eichler, so he'll take over the 7th spot. Just behind Hornaday, who's running 6th. Again, Hornaday started 15th, has been able to make his way up into that 6th spot, trying to break into the top 5. And again, Skinner out in front of this field. So Crafton has led a lap. He led quite a few laps early on. That was good enough for 5 bonus points to start off with. We haven't had Ron Hornaday out in front, so he has not received any bonus points.
You know, I think Ron Hornaday being up to 6 right now really throws out the window that Rick Rent's going to have to do some funny pit strategy to get him up there. Now, if the caution flag were to come out, he's going to be able to close right up and be within 5 truck lengths of Matt Crafton and the other leader, obviously Mike Skinner. So there's a good run so far for TJ Bell, right now running in the 3rd spot.
TJ's done a tremendous job. You know, he started off the year being teammates there, and he showed a lot of improvement over the, you know, between last year and this year. And if he doesn't do any mistakes, as good as his truck is, he can have a great finish this week.
Johnny Sauter, 13, running for Rookie of the Year. How about the young Austin Dillon, that number 3 Chevy Silverado?
He's another one of the drivers that has some experience here at this racetrack. As we watch his onboard, he ran some Camping World East races here, making his first ever Camping World Truck Series start.
Probably a little bit different in vehicles. So I mean, you're on some radio tires with the, you know, with the Goodyears. The truck, the aerodynamics is very different, and you know, but it looks like he's doing a great job. He's you know, so far staying out of trouble, running. I've seen him run high and I've seen him run low, and that's great for him to do that. He's getting great experience.
I think they're really approaching Austin's career in the right way. They're getting him a little bit of experience in the Nationwide Series, some experience in the Truck Series. You know, ran the full Camping World East schedule last year. Also ran some West races, and really started out on dirt, you know, to get a good feel for cars. So I think they really have gone about planning out his career in the right way.
And one thing here in the Truck Series, we know that there's great hard racing. There's going to be some tight battles and things of that nature. Great experience, especially on a track like this.
And good seat time. We talked about Jamie Dick and Austin Dillon both making their first ever starts in the Camping World Truck Series. 26 drivers coming into this race had made their first start this year in the Camping World Truck Series, like Austin Dillon. Ray Dunlap.
Rick, I talked to Austin Dillon right before the race started, and I said, what are your thoughts about tonight? He said, well, I'm really comfortable in this truck. I like it very much, and I'm really comfortable with this racetrack. I love the way the trucks are able to go through the center. It's very different than it was when I was here in the Nationwide car. But he said, what I don't know what to expect is what happens when I get in a big group of traffic. If I've got 2 or 3 guys running side by side with me, I haven't experienced that yet, and I'm just going to have to learn and see how it goes. So far, no problem for him as he rolls along right now, staying in the top 10 in that beautiful black number 3.
Well, the one thing I can tell you, when he gets to the point where he's 3 wide and all that, it's going to be a lot like the Nationwide car. It's just not going to be the most comfortable you can be when it's in that conditions.
The rookie stripe on the back of that number 3. Here's a battle for the 3rd spot, and the 13 of Johnny Sauter, actually the fastest truck on the track last time by, so he was reeling in the 11 of TJ Bell.
Johnny's another one of the guys that a lot of the crew chiefs were talking about having a great truck here. You know, that team keeps getting stronger and stronger, this Thor Sport Racing team. New crew chief here within the last couple weeks, Joe Shear Jr. came over, and he was actually Brian Eichler's Camping World East and West crew and ARCA Remax crew chief. And he's longtime friends with Johnny Sauter, and they've worked together a number of times, and he's back over now with Johnny at Thor Sport Racing.
Yeah, they have worked together, and I think that's why they probably wanted to rejoin, because they had some success and ran real well together. So I think he's doing a great job with the change so far.
Right.
Well, guys, you're right. His truck is very fast, but it's also incredibly loose. I'm talking about Johnny Sauter. He just came on the radio a few moments ago and told Joe Shear, this thing is so loose, I'm going to crash it. Joe said, you got a fast truck, take care of it. We'll try to tighten it up for you a little bit on the pit stop. Adam?
Very little audio on the radio as far as Eric Almirola is concerned. He said a little bit tight in 1 and 2, slightly free in 3 and 4, but this is a race team who has experienced a great deal of success in recent weeks when it comes to short track racing. In fact, when you look at the 3 short track races in the summer months, his average finish 4.3, and here he is running in the top 5 again tonight. Almirola.
Well, after a rough start to this race. Cautions coming out on lap number 1 and again on lap 7. We've had a pretty long green flag run on lap 45 of the 200 schedule.
This really gives the crew chiefs an idea of what these trucks are going to do on a long run. That's the information they'd like to have, is what this thing is going to do when you get some laps on the tires and you get some fuel burn out of these things.
Hornaday trying to take 5th away from Eric Almirola as he looks to the inside. This will put Hornaday into the top 5. So Hornaday reeling in Mike Skinner, who has a 1.4 second lead over second place Matt Crafton. Mike Skinner holding on to that top spot. He was your pole sitter. He's your track record holder here at Iowa Speedway. Jackson returns to speed live from Sin City. Everything from classic muscle cars to exotic European sports cars will be auctioned. Barrett Jackson live from the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. The bidding begins October 8th, only on Speed. Tread cam is amazing. We saw that 3 years ago when we came here for the first race, the ARCA Remix Series race we did.
How about that second and 4/10 second lead you were talking about that Mike Skinner had? It's
gone.
Evaporated now. It's about 0.6 of a second. You see right now, clear racetrack in front of Matt Crafton. These guys have been in some heavy traffic. Johnny Sauter is virtually caught up with Matt Crafton as well. He's right behind the 10 of James Busher, who is now a lap down.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, the thing is that you would think that with having a double groove racetrack that lead gap wouldn't lose, you know. But the guys are starting to find different spots on the track, and sometimes you go the outside of the guy. Next time you're down on the bottom, and sometimes that can confuse you and just slow you up a little bit. And as Matt Crafton catches up to Mike Skinner, but maybe his truck's getting a little better too.
Talking about being a little bit of a rough start at the beginning of this race. We have Edwards off the track, your Borks off the track, John Jackson, Andy Constein, Nick Tucker, Chris Jones, Matthews, Sieg, and Curio all off the racetrack now.
We've got a battle for the lead right here on the racetrack.
Here comes the 88 once again. Matt Crafton looks to the inside. Mike Skinner's going to stay on the outside line. We'll see if Crafton can make the pass.
Johnny Sauter lurking right behind these two.
Now has Skinner slowed down or has Crafton sped up?
Skinner slowed down some. He was running about 24:20, 24:30 when we went away to the last commercial break. Now they're running 24:50, 60.
Crafton again looking right on the back bumper of that 5. And Johnny Sauter not far back, running 3rd.
If those guys start racing side by side, Sauter's going to be right there, maybe going 3 wide for the lead. This is some great racing.
Matt Crafton to the inside. Let's see if he can make the pass this time. Caution comes out on the racetrack. That's the 3rd one of the night.
Skinner was 1/100th of a second ahead of Matt Crafton at the start-finish line.
Little debris on the racetrack is what NASCAR is saying, and that's why this caution has come out on lap 58.
Right now, Matt Crafton is staying beside Mike Skinner because he knew that when the caution came out, he was ahead of him. But that doesn't mean that he was ahead of him at the last loop. So that's what NASCAR will look at, and they will determine who's supposed to be in the lead, and they'll let the crew chief know. And obviously, it looks like it was Mike Skinner because he drove back by Matt Crafton.
Now, timing of this caution, does it work out to make it a pretty good 2-stop race?
It does. I mean, this is probably the perfect time. If they were in about lap 80, then we consider the 1. But now that's going to make it a 2-stop race. And man, the timing of the caution was bad for the race, and it could have been 3 wide there for a second.
Oh yeah.
Hey, let's take a look at what Ron Hornaday did back when he was moving through some traffic. There's the 30th Tom 09 on the outside right front him, the Lumber Liquidators truck. And look at all these trucks right here. There's Brett Thompson, the 61. He's going to make it 4 wide for a moment getting in turn number 1.
I was holding my breath to make sure that 10 didn't come off the racetrack. Here they come on to pit road. They're led by the 5 of Mike Skinner. Adam Alexander.
But it will be the 33 of Ron Hornaday first to hit his pit stall. He is at pit in. 4 tires is what they will do this time. They will also make a chassis adjustment when they come back for fuel. Ron has said he is a bit tight in the center of the corner. Matt Crafton battling for the lead when the caution came out. Has said he is a bit snug. 4 tires. They will make an air pressure adjustment and come back for fuel, Ray.
The 11 truck of TJ Bell's a little bit tight coming off, and he said his brakes just slowly began to shake there in the last few laps of that run. Down at the front of the grid, the Toyota of Des Moines Toyota for Mike Skinner. He's got his truck doing really, really well. They're going to put 4 tires on that thing, and Skinner will not be challenged coming off. The 6 truck, the second guy off pit road.
Great battles off pit road. Matt Crafton was able to get in front of Hornaday. Johnny Sauter got in front of Hornaday as well.
See the moves that were made off of pit road. Now we'll see the field come back onto pit road for fuel this time. Again, in the Camping World Truck Series, you cannot change tires and add fuel under the same pit stop. And here comes the 5 of Mike Skinner once again. Just in front of him, the 00 of Tim Bainey Jr. Adam.
Ron Hornaday has made some tremendous gains early in this race after starting 15th. Tight in practice, it's continued tight in the race. They just made a wedge adjustment. They will top off the fuel tank at lap 60. It will be fuel only this time around for Matt Crafton. They made the air pressure adjustment on their first trip down the pit lane. They are putting in the second can of fuel now, Ray.
Gas going in on the 11 for TJ Bell, and back at the front of the grid, we're seeing Mike Skinner here. The fuel can goes in. They've got 1 can in, hitting with the second one, and they're going to spill some gas out of here because Skinner tried to leave just a little bit too early, but he'll still be the first guy off pit road.
So Skinner's going to hold on to that top spot. TJ Bell will be back up to second. That's the way we started this race. They were the front row. They'll be 1 and 2 when we go back to racing at Iowa. So he will get a lap back.
I know Michael would be happy. I know he's in Atlanta watching us tonight. Michael, we're going to give away a lucky dog even though you're not here.
21 trucks on the lead lap. Green flag back in the air. Todd Bodine trying to stay in front of that 5 to stay on the lead lap, but falls back now, so he is 1 lap down. Adam Alexander, what's happening with Todd?
It's not surprising that Bodine is running in the front of the field. What is shocking, he's already a lap down, and we're only 63 laps into this race. Loose in and tied off on that first run of the night. You couple that with the fact that he started 23rd. There was no room for error. Skinner running those good lap times, caught him, put him a lap down. They got 4 tires, fuel, made a big adjustment, hoping they can get the lucky dog and get back in the game tonight, Ray.
Down on my end, Adam, for the number 6 Conway Ford, it was just a little bit of an adjustment that Mike Beam called out, but the driver had been calling in saying my truck feels like it's losing grip longer in the run. They went down 1 round on the track bar, 4 tires and fuel for the number 6 truck.
Well, close call here. Johnny Sauter on the inside of that 33. Sauter teammate to Matt Crafton, and you see the 88 behind the 33 when they came off of pit road.
Yeah, the pit stop for gas, it didn't go as well as they would have liked, and they lost a little bit of ground. You know, he was battling for the lead, technically had the lead, but not at the last scoring move. Because we see Johnny Sauter try to get by Hornaday in a battle for the 4th spot, and then end up restarting the race after or behind Hornaday.
And when you're sitting there in that point battle, the last thing you want to see is the point guy ahead of you when just a second ago you were going for the lead. So that's a great move by the 33 nose guys dropping getting out in front of the 88.
Remember, Johnny Sauter was just battling for the lead, as was Matt Crafton before that caution came out.
Yeah, we had a close call here a couple laps ago, right down here in front of us. Watch this now. You see Colin Brown, the 6 truck. There's Hornaday. Here comes Crafton and Johnny Sauter, both going to try to get by Hornaday. And watch a little bit of contact. Maybe right there. There was a little, ooh, look at Hornaday. He got even more sideways than I thought he did.
He did. It looked like Ron started to come down on Crafton there when Crafton was underneath him. And all of a sudden, you know, that puts Ron in a bad position. That could have been a lot worse than what it was there.
Yeah, that's going in turn number 1 right there. Crafton almost ran in the back of Hornaday then.
Here on short track racing. The Camping World Truck Series was born and where they thrive.
Some great racing right here. Brian Eichler, the 51. Timothy Peters, the 17. Austin Dillon, the 3. There's Brian Scott, the 16. Eric Almirola. We talked about how good he's been on the short tracks. The last 5 races in the Camping World Truck Series that Eric Almirola drove that 15 truck, top 10 finishes.
As it runs, Adam Alexander.
Talk about Eric Almirola. He finds himself right now in the 11th position after running in the top 5 in the early portion of this race. They actually thought they had a tire going down when the caution came out. As it turned out, all 4 Goodyears were up and where they needed to be, but he's been battling some chassis problems. They made an adjustment, and he just got around Brian Scott, put the 15 back in the top 10. Brian Scott, meanwhile, has been tight throughout the evening. They did make an adjustment and got 4 tires under that last pit stop, right?
And Austin Dillon is running right where he started tonight in the 9th position. You know, he's had a lot of talk on the radio with his father, Mike. Mike giving him all kinds of advice tonight, and Austin said, my truck is tight and I just can't get it down to the bottom. And Mike's telling him that's the fast place to run. He said, Dad, you gotta trust me. You gotta listen a little bit here. I can't get it down to the bottom. So they made an air pressure adjustment on that number 3 Bad Boys Motors Chevrolet, and also raised the track bar up a little bit, guys. And hopefully that's going to loosen him up a little bit and help that truck roll through the center.
As we were just watching the in-car camera there, he sure saw it on that wheel, so it definitely looked like they loosened it up. And he's doing a great job, though. I mean, he's staying on the bottom. He's staying off the side of the 17, but look at him work that wheel. So I think they freed her up.
Here you can see when he turns his hands back to the right, that's a bad sign.
And he's also staying in the top 10, which I think is very impressive for his first ever start.
He's going to get loose down there, and around he goes.
Talk about him. Sideways goes Austin Dillon. Keep it off the wall, Austin. He does, and that brings out our 4th caution.
That's what we talk about all the time. And when these trucks get side by side, when they lose that downforce, Johnny, it's very, very hard to keep control of them, especially when he's borderline loose anyway.
He was already loose, and in the minute that he got a little bit closer to that truck, it kind of just pulled him around. While running, you know, he's running for 8th right there, and it's just, you know, unfortunate, but he learned a bunch right there. He did not wreck the truck, got a caution, and he'll get a new set of Goodyears.
Look. See right on the inside of Timothy Peters. Again, he's already been loose. There's some bumps down there. They upset the truck a little bit. He gets sideways. He keeps the truck off of Timothy. Eric Almirola does a great job avoiding him, and he just slides up to the outside wall. No harm, no foul.
Now, he does a great job here because a lot of rookies probably would have turned that in and took them both out. So by just spinning it and just coming to a stop was the right thing, and a great call for him. I mean, he was definitely loose.
Battle for the 8th position as this took place.
Timothy did a nice job too, because there was a little bit of contact and he got pretty much out of shape.
On to pit road, Adam Alexander.
And how about this opportunity for Todd Bodine? Exactly what he needed, a caution to get him the free pass. They came down when the other front runners stay on the track. They top off the fuel tank, make a slight adjustment. Watch Bodine when we go back under the green flag. And more importantly, should we have a long green flag run, his fuel window will be stretched a little bit better, Ray.
And Adam, they just called on the radio and asked Austin Dillon if he wants a chassis adjustment. He said, no, I think it's going to be okay. An interesting mix of crew members down here. Look at the different uniforms for the guys from Richard Childress Racing. Whole bunch of folks pitching in tonight to get Austin Dillon his first start.
And remember, only 5 can go over the wall in the Camping World Truck Series. It's been a wild ride for a few different drivers, including Austin Dillon. Going over the bumps, and with Timothy Peters on his outside, it got crazy. We'll be back. More green flag racing from Iowa Speedway after this. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Just for Men. Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. By Camping World's Destination Recreation Sweepstakes. Log on to campingworld.com/racing to enter for weekly giveaways. This week, win one of 5 Adventurer folding bikes. And by Royal Purple. Visit royalpurple.com to find a dealer near you. Crowd already seeing some fireworks early on at the start of this race. Expecting some more door-to-door racing from the Camping World Truck Series. Back up on their feet as the field makes its way through.
Going to wave off. Going to wave off green, the restart.
And as they do that, the fans get comfortable once again, right?
Rick, you know, we were talking about what a great crowd there is tonight. Well, there's about 450 people here at least that are rooting for Johnny Sauter tonight, and that's all the folks from Carl Chevrolet in the nearby town here. They have come out in big force to try to root Johnny on, and he said, I'm well aware that they've got a lot of fans here in Newton, Iowa. So those guys here supporting that number 13, and Sauter having a great run tonight, keeping that truck in the top 5.
America's fastest game show is Pastime, and every Wednesday night you can play along. Just name the time and see if you're better than the contestants or the house. Catch all new back-to-back episodes of Pastime Wednesday nights beginning at 9 Eastern, presented in Speed HD. That's a great game.
It is.
I try to win, and I'm not very good at it because the cars that look the fastest, they're not normally the fastest.
It doesn't surprise me.
Hey, thanks for all of that support. Appreciate that. Well, Mike Skinner is still holding on to the top spot. TJ Bell running second. Colin Brown is third. Ron Hornaday getting up into the top 5 after some good pit work. Johnny Sauter rounding out that top 5. Green flag back in the air. Field negotiating 1 and 2.
Look at Hornaday right hugging the yellow line, going to pull up beside Colin Brown for the 3rd spot.
Mike Skinner looked like he shot out of turn number 2. He put 3 truck links between himself and TJ Bell, and Hornaday now taking over 3rd and looking to get 2nd from TJ Bell.
Ron Hornaday's truck looks like it's very, very good. See, and he always is very, very good on these restarts. I thought he was going to get 2 of them, but I'm sure it's not going to take too much longer. He's going to be up there battling for the lead with Mike Skinner.
Adam Alexander.
And before this race, Hornaday's crew chief, Rick Wren, was an absolute ball of stress on the pit lane, and for good reason. You got the point lead, you're starting 15th, and the guy chasing you is starting 3rd. I went over and talked to him under caution. I said, you feel a little bit better now? And he just took a long, deep breath. I think he feels really good about where he is, not only because he's gained so many positions and is in front of Crafton, but I think they feel like their truck is getting closer to where it needs to be so they can chase down Skinner.
Battle for the 10th spot on the racetrack.
Chad McCumbee able to get by Brian Scott to take over that 10th spot. Chad has a good run going here.
He does, and I've seen Brian Scott sideways more than 2 or 3 times.
Again, right then too, Johnny.
And right there, so he's battling a very, very loose truck right at the moment.
81, and Taylor Balsam now moving to the inside of that 16.
He was very, very loose when we started this race. Looks like Doug Walcott's made some adjustments. That truck has gotten a little bit better.
Ray Dunlap.
You're exactly right, Phil. They were very, very loose, made a big adjustment. And also Taylor came on the radio to tell him that that truck was running hot. So they pulled some tape off of the front nose of that 81 too. So making adjustments here to try to get that thing better. But boy, they dropped like a rock at the beginning because it was so loose. Adam?
If there is one word that has to describe Matt Crafton, it is frustration. He has had a tremendous year in 2009. Only 4 finishes outside the top 10 as you ride on board with the 88 right here. But he still finds himself behind Hornaday in the standings. And tonight, such a good qualifying run. But again, right at the halfway point, he finds himself trailing Hornaday. This guy needs a good break, and right now he's just not able to find one.
Matt Crafton, after starting up front, dropped back. Now trying to battle with his teammate to get back into the top 5. In lap 87 of 200. Crafton trying to knock away at that 220-point lead that Ron Hornaday has over him.
Good battle right of your screen. Jason White posted the inside of Ricky Carmichael. That is a battle for the 13th position. There's Terry Cook, the Cajun Toyota right behind them, and the 15th position.
Great battles all over the racetrack. What a beautiful facility here at Iowa Speedway as we're underway with the Lucas Oil 200.
Jason White very, very close to Ricky Carmichael. Remember, this is a situation he's in where Jason will get loose. He'll lose some of the downforce off that truck on the inside, but looks like that truck's handling pretty well right now.
It is. I mean, he's got such a great run coming up off the corner. He's able to to clear him, and then all of a sudden he comes right back on the outside. But he'll get a good run coming off this corner and hopefully be in front of him, which he does.
This is one of the few racetracks that Ricky has a little bit of experience. He ran the Camping World East schedule last year, so he was able to run this racetrack last year. So many of the racetracks that he's been to this year has been the very first time he's ever seen them. He may have seen a motocross track in the infield or something.
Adam Alexander.
And indeed, Ricky Carmichael, a little added experience here means confidence for the driver number 4. But the one thing that has been tough for him here in Iowa is the fact that he crashed the truck they were hoping to race tonight during the test session yesterday. So this was the first time in his career where he's had to go to a backup. The crew had to make all the necessary changes and get him ready. And I think he has rebounded quite well, finds himself in the top 15, and they feel like they've got some more adjustability in this truck to make him even better.
Closing in on the halfway point, as you mentioned. Ricky Carmichael in the top 15, running 14th. Mike Skinner continuing to tack on laps to his laps led. He has led 74. Matt Crafton, the only other driver out front, has led 17 laps. Crafton still chasing Ron Hornaday, now in the top 3. Welcome back. Lucas Oil 200 from Iowa Speedway, just a bit east of Des Moines, Iowa, in Newton, Iowa. Rick Allen, Phil Parsons, Johnny Sauter up here in the booth with you, Adam Alexander.
I think it's Johnny Benson.
Oh, did I say Sauter? Yeah. Dang, I hate when I do that. It is Johnny Benson. Adam Alexander, Ray Dunlap down on pit road. Johnny Sauter's on the racetrack, as far as I know.
I didn't mean to laugh at you.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I did. Yeah, I did, actually. Michael would have laughed at you, too.
He probably is right now. Here comes Hornaday trying to get by that 11 of TJ Bell. Ron Hornaday running 3rd, TJ Bell up in 2nd. Bell looking for his best career finish. It was 5th before. We'll see if he can do better than that tonight.
He is having a career day right here tonight. Now, regardless of what happens from here on out, he needs to finish the deal, but what a great job he's done. Qualified well, has been running up front the entire time, and he's got a mirror full of Ron Hornaday.
He does, you know, and we've seen him up front a couple races this year, but pit strategy has put him there. Today he's been running up there from the start of the green, so he's doing a great job.
At the halfway point, we got to remember when they came onto pit road, it was around lap 60, I believe. That was when we saw everybody do the fuel and tires. Is that going to come into play here?
Well, some of the guys came back in on lap number 75. Now they've got a good fuel mileage check, and I'm not, you know, I really think 125 laps is a little outside the window for these guys. But certainly the lap 60 pit stop from the majority of the field, I think, is too far out. So I think we're looking at everybody making another stop. You know, there may be a couple guys that, if we get some caution laps, may want to gamble, you know, and only make one pit stop and put tires on and not fuel. But I really think that's outside the window.
Ray, is fuel strategy a theme down there on pit road?
Well, absolutely, Rick. It always is. And just to give Phil a few more numbers of what I've calculated down here, what we're seeing is when you get to about 115, if we were to get a yellow flag, everybody could come in and make it the rest of the way. And if we stay under green, I've got them figured out to be able to go to right around 152 to 155 in that neighborhood. So if we were to get a long green flag run here, another 50-some laps, people will have to pit under green. What are you hearing on your end, Adam?
I talked to Rick Wren, crew chief for Ron Hornaday, under that last caution, and he felt like the next time he would be on pit road was somewhere after lap 115, because at that point they would be in their window to go the distance. And he said that was under green. They would not have to worry about caution laps as long as they were able to fuel the truck somewhere after 115. You see Rick left of your screen. How stressed out is he? A moment ago he had a bottle of Tums in his hand. Not something uncommon for the crew chief of the point leader.
Adam, he may want to take some more Tums, because the pass Ron Hornaday put on TJ Bell right there, I could see Rick Wren just shaking his head.
Well, luckily, Mike Skinner just past that 6,000 laps led mark, as you saw on the graphic there, because it looks like Ron Hornaday might be passing Mike Skinner and start taking over that laps led.
Well, he's got about a 3-second deficit right now, but he has a very, very fast truck. Let's see what they do on this most recent lap. Yes, Ron Hornaday was about 6/100ths of a second faster than Mike Skinner. Good battle right there. Austin Dillon right in the middle of some good trucks. Stacy Compton right in front of him. That's Rick Crawford right behind him. There's a 24 of David Starr. Get some great experience looking to the inside of Stacy Compton.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's learning something. You know, Stacy Compton's been around for a long time. David Starr's been around for a long time. And, you know, you can always learn something. It doesn't matter who you're following. But when you're following the experienced guys, there's a lot of things you can do.
Austin Dillon getting the seat time. Again, Austin bringing out our most recent caution on lap 75. It was the 4th caution of the night. A few trucks, as you mentioned, about less than 10 came onto pit road. We would expect the Mike Skinners and Hornadays and TJ Bells to all start thinking in the back of their minds, okay, now we've got to realize that if this continues to go green, we may have to again make green flag pit stops.
Yeah, right now the highest placed truck that pitted on lap number 75 is the 24 truck of David Starr. As you can see him right there, almost making a little contact with Stacy Compton, and he's running in the 17th position. So nobody up battling up front right now is in a situation where they ran 15 more laps on fuel.
I think one thing you're going to see, though, as good as the tires been, it looks like the pace is still going decent. They're only going to do fuel at this point in time, so it may change maybe a little bit of strategy.
Oh, contact.
Little contact there, Stacy Compton. We see the 24. David Starr up into the wall. Caution comes out once again.
And this caution flag right here will come out when most of these guys are in their window. We've completed 109 laps, so I think everyone will be in their window now so they can come in. They may elect, Johnny, as you talked about, not to put tires on this time, just a little bit of fuel for track position, and then maybe save the tires for later. Remember, they have a limit on how many tires they have.
Yeah, you do, but you know, at this point in the stage, they know the tires are going to go 100 laps easy. They know that
they're not going to fall off that much.
And I think that they need to definitely get their tires and see how it plays off. Now, Austin Dillon has definitely just learned something else right now, too, is a little bit of contact and sure ruin a couple guys' days.
Yeah, David Starr made some pretty good contact with the outside wall. I don't think Stacy made any contact other than with the 24 truck. Let's take another look at it. This is a situation where Stacy's going to run a little bit high. David thinks he's going down to the bottom, and they just ran out of racetrack. Rick Crawford does a nice job avoiding Stacy Compton.
Again, Austin Dillon was right behind that 60 and was able to avoid as we take another look at it.
Yeah, that was just tight racing. It looked like the 24 wanted to come down to that line, maybe thinking the 60 was going to go a little bit lower than that. But that's right where the dip. That's right where the dip of the track is, and right there is right where that seam is. And I think they both wanted to do speed on that seam.
Yeah, David was not below the white line there. Just a situation where Stacy was going to use a little bit more racetrack. You see melting engine parts on board that truck of Stacy Compton's. Pit road is still closed right now. That's why nobody made any pit stops on this lap.
There we see David Starr out of his Zachary Toyota Tundra.
Such a tough break for David Starr. 6th in points coming into this race.
Mario Goslin gets the Aaron's lucky dog.
Great news for Mario here in the last couple weeks. Going to have a full-time sponsor for next year, and they're actually going to, I think, do some races this year. So great news for Mario Goslin.
MyTireMonkey.com is the sponsor that is signed on. They're going to make the official announcement at Talladega a little bit later this year.
And he's going to get a gift right now.
They just gave him a gift. The Aaron's lucky dog, so he gets a lap back.
Incredible.
So generous all the time. Ron Hornaday running second. Mike Skinner out in front of the field. And here comes that field onto pit road. Adam Alexander.
The strategy for Ron Hornaday running second, follow the leader. If Mike Skinner comes in, you come down pit road. 4 tires the first time, fuel the second time. No adjustments. For Matt Crafton, they asked him, what do you want to do? He said, I don't care. So his crew chief, Bud Haefele, said, we're going to come down, put on 4 tires, and then we'll come back and fill it full of fuel. Ray?
Down on my end for TJ Bell, they're going to make an air pressure adjustment from Rick Gay to try to give him a little bit better overall grip. Now, he wanted to drop the track bar, but TJ said he's afraid it's going to be too much of an adjustment. We move up to the front with Mike Skinner. They're going to go 4 tires and gas down here. 1/2 a pound out of the left rear. Skinner is going to lose a couple of spots on the exit of pit road. Hornaday and Skinner with a tight battle. Looks like Hornaday may have beat him.
Very close call. The race is to that white line that we saw the field going by. And again, you can't put fuel in the truck and change tires at the same time. So we would expect to see most of the field make their way back onto pit road now. Some of those drivers may have gambled and just put fuel on that first stop and then stayed out for the track position and not come back onto pit road. We'll see how many people take that strategy as we see the field back on pit road, Adam.
And Ron Hornaday going to be the first to hit his marks. He is at pit in. They will top off the fuel tank, pull a tear off the windshield. They did do an air pressure adjustment when they changed those tires for Matt Crafton. It is fuel only, and you see Crafton peeling off right now and hitting his marks. They will top off the fuel tank. They can't go the distance from here, Ray.
TJ Bell going to get fuel in his number 11 too as they can begin to work on that. Mike Skinner came on the radio and said to his guys, we need to get that spot back. There goes the track bar adjustment or a wedge adjustment. One can of fuel in. They're going with a little bit of the second one, and Skinner going to be real tight again. Him and Colin Brown with the race, and the 15 out just ahead.
Yeah, I think we saw some pit strategy the first time. I think we saw about 3 trucks that we know of that only changed right side tires.
Great crowd on hand from Iowa Speedway once again here in the heartland. Mike Skinner was leading. Now Eric Almirola gets off first.
It's Camping World's Destination Recreation.
You know, with today's active lifestyle, it's really nice to have a toy hauler whenever you go camping. Now, whether you put your golf cart in here, or if it's ATVs, four-wheelers, bicycles, canoes, it doesn't matter. You need a space to have all the things with you that you want to use to have fun. And what's amazing to me is with all that space in the back for your toys, there's still an incredible amount of room on the inside. Now, new toy haulers from the dealer can start at about $25,000 for a tow behind and go all the way up to the mid-60s when we're talking about a fifth-wheel trailer. But here's the most important part. When you come to Camping World, you can see every make and model available and pick the one that's just right for you.
And again, Camping World's Destination Recreation Sweepstakes taking place. Log on to campingworld.com/racing to enter for weekly giveaways. Again, this week, win one of 5 Adventurer folding bikes.
Huge grand prize at the end. Class A motorhome. With over $100,000.
A motor coach. How about that? Beautiful, beautiful. Clear skies here in Newton, Iowa, for the first ever Camping World Truck Series race. And the fans are back up on their feet as the field comes out of turn number 4. Green flag back in the air. Eric Almirola in front of Mike Skinner, but for how long? Skinner looking to the inside. Almirola still has that top spot.
Hornaday stuck in behind the 60 of Stacy Compton. Not anymore.
Not for long. Down to the bottom of the racetrack, 3 wide. Hornaday takes the spot away.
Ooh, then does a slide job on Terry Cook.
Terry Cook moves down to the bottom, trying to take that position back. Battle for the lead. Skinner in front of Eric Almirola when they cross the start-finish line.
I was really curious to see how 2 tires were going to do. I think it's a little bit early to tell what's going to happen 30, 40 laps down the road is when we're going to really find out.
It does, and usually 2 tires works good for the first 10, 15 laps over 4. And so I was a little bit surprised that maybe he didn't stay out there, but I think that the reason why he did that, he was a little bit further back than he wanted to be.
And that 5 truck's pretty good.
The 5 truck is really good right at the moment. So.
Adam Alexander.
And part of it for the 15 taking only 2 tires is they had to gain some track position. They were fighting an ill-handling truck, and the only way they felt like they could get back in the game was to do something strategy-wise. A good call for Doug George at this stage. We'll see how long he can get there. The condition he was fighting, tight in the center, loose in, and it seems to be better early in this run, Ray.
And Adam, the truck that Mike Skinner is driving, one of the newest additions at the Randy Moss Motorsports. They had 2 trucks here yesterday for the testing session, and Mike said he was overwhelmed at how good their backup truck was. He said that's something this team hasn't had all year long. Of course, they started pretty much from scratch at the beginning of this season going over to Toyota. So Mike said he feels like this team is really hitting their stride at this point of the season where their backup truck is absolutely every bit as good as the truck they have that's been out front most of the night tonight here at Iowa.
Right, not only did they start from scratch, they started really, really late. I mean, that thing didn't come together till sometime in January, I don't think.
That's so hard to do. Daytona is such a huge and important race, and to start that late, they've done a great job.
Just 78 laps to go when they come back to the start-finish line. Brian Scott still fighting an ill-handling race truck.
Great side-by-side racing all over this racetrack, though.
Brian Eichler just in front of that 14 of Rick Crawford. Rick Crawford had a great view of this just moments ago.
Watch this now. Brian Scott looks like he might have bounced off the wall a little bit right in front of the 17 truck of Timothy Peters.
Here's that close call by Brian Eichler.
On the outside of Ricky Carmichael, who just gets loose up there, chases it up the hill. Fortunately, there's enough racetrack up there to catch it.
Yeah, that's a bad spot to get loose like that going down into the corner. The speeds are actually a lot faster than what you think they are on this type of racetrack. And you go down there and get free like that, he's lucky he didn't have anything worse than what he got.
Yeah, certainly no contact whatsoever, just got loose getting in.
He got loose getting in, but he went right across that seam where the two bankings are different. It's about 2 degrees, and sometimes it can cause you some problems.
Brian Eichler started this race in the 7th spot. Now back into the 20th position, so a difficult evening for Brian Eichler.
Well, he's still on the lead lap, though, so he's still certainly in contention for a good finish.
And at the opposite end of the spectrum is his teammate, Eric Almirola, who's running second now to Mike Skinner.
You know, it's just amazing. We had Eric Almirola in this series 2 or 3 years ago on a full-time basis. Went off and raced the Sprint Cup Series for DEI last year, and when he came back here, it's amazing. He had, you know, mediocre success when he was here before, but now every time he gets in that 15 truck, he is running up front, finishing in the top 10 every single time.
The 3 of Austin Dillon, tucking in behind that 20 of James Busher.
He's working his way back up. He's taking his time. You know, he was 19th, 20th a little bit ago. It's all the way up to 14th, so he's got a good racetrack. He's just got to be a little bit more patient than
Problems right on the front stretch. The 30 of Todd Bodine, the 23 of Jason White. They get turned around. The caution comes out once again.
Todd was able to save that truck. There's actually an access road before you get to the pit wall. See a lot of sparks out from under the gunbroker.com Dodge, but Todd was able to save that truck, not hit the inside wall.
These two were battling for 16th on the racetrack. A lot of sparks, a lot of problems there. The right front is down. Todd Bodine, we'll find out what kind of damage they have. Adam?
He just came on the radio and said, guys, it's just way too loose in and I can't drive it. It's tight in the center. And they did talk about cleaning off the grill when he comes down pit road. And I'm assuming, although we can't see the nose here, that there's some debris after he drove through the infield. And they're talking on the radio now about the adjustments they're going to make to try to help the handling. It has been a tough night for Bodine after he was so good a week ago at Chicagoland.
Let's take a look at what happened to Todd Bodine and Jason White. Here we are coming off turn number 4. You see those trucks side by side, just a simultaneous spin there. Jason on the inside got a little bit loose, lost the air off that spoiler.
Yeah, he definitely got loose and gathered Todd up. And as close as they were to the wall, they're lucky they didn't get that. And as Todd goes definitely down through the grass, it'll fill it up. But as you can see, it started actually down on the bottom of the racetrack, and they both just kind of slid up and just used as much of it as they had down through the grass. It didn't look like they did any damage, but Todd is definitely going to come in. He's going to have to wipe the grill off with all the grass. That's probably both.
There's another view of it again, simultaneously spinning. I'm not sure they ever touched.
Well, I'm sure they probably just barely, but when you got a truck that way spinning, it definitely will help you along.
They wiped off anything that was on that splitter, and the 30 of Todd Bodine will make his way back onto the racetrack. Under 75 laps of racing remaining. Just 72 to go from Iowa Speedway. The Lucas Oil 200. Again, started off a little rough. A long green flag run. Great side-by-side racing. Back under front. In NASCAR, Michael Waltrip and Greg Biffle will offer their opinions on some of NASCAR's hottest topics. Should the chase field be expanded? How about adding speedometers to the cars? Those are some of the topics to be discussed. Catch us this week in NASCAR Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Speed. Lucas Oil 200 from Iowa Speedway. Well, guys, I definitely don't believe that we've been disappointed with what takes place on the racetrack. We've seen great side-by-side racing. Maybe when they get a little too close, we're going to have some problems, though.
It is. I mean, we're 130 some laps in. It's the first time we've sat down. So, and I think the fans are about the same way. So we've seen some great racing. Aaron's a lucky dog to Stacy Compton. So
now I'm
sure he's feeling very good about that right now.
You're being generous as well.
Absolutely. Aaron's used to sponsor me when I was first running in the Cup Series. So
Butler family.
Absolutely.
So Stacy Compton gets the Aaron's lucky dog and grabs a lap back. There will be 20 trucks on the lead lap. We'll go back to green flag racing.
Let's keep an eye on Hornaday on this restart. He's in 4th right now behind the 6th of Colin Brown.
Green's back in the air. Skinner, Eric Almirola, 1 and 2.
There goes Hornaday.
Hornaday to the inside of Colin Brown, trying to take 3rd away, and he will close. Oh, what a close call there. But he closes that door for now. We'll see if Colin Brown will try to fight back.
There's Matt Crafton right behind Colin Brown. He looks to the inside.
Matt Crafton sees Hornaday just in front of him. Those two battling for a championship.
I'll tell you, that 6 truck of Colin Brown, what a move he's made here in the last few races. Since Dover, which was 9 races ago, he was 20th in points, and he's moved all the way up to 7th.
And I think he found victory lane in that stretch.
In Michigan.
It was a big win for him. Ricky Carmichael on the inside, and that Monster Energy drink number 4.
Ooh, a little contact right in front of James Busher.
Leading one of Taylor also on the outside. Tyler Navigator.
Ricky right now, this battle is just outside the top 10. They are battling for the 11th spot. There's Austin Dillon on the inside of the 10 of James Busher.
He's been able to battle back after spinning.
He's been coming up through real nice. I mean, just every time we look, he's a couple spots up on the board. And I think by the end of the day, he might have a good run if he can just, you know, he just got to work slowly, and there's still a lot of time left for him to do it.
Timothy Peters in the 17, currently in the 10th spot, just in front of this group.
Austin's getting some good experience. He's just about been racing somebody every lap since we dropped the green flag.
And how many years have we seen that 3 truck run very good all the time? So I'm sure the group will improve as he, you know, gets racing again. He's going to definitely improve. They'll have fast race.
Yeah, he's got a shot at the top 10 finish here right now, running in the 14th spot.
This is for 9th. Timothy Peters is able to take it away from Brian Scott. Ray Dunlap.
Guys, I want to add real quickly on Brian Eichler. You know, I talked about all the incredible laps of experience he's had here. He came on the radio about 10 laps ago and said, I have never driven anything anywhere near as loose as this truck just became. He said it feels like something must have broke, maybe something in the anti-sway bar or whatever. They came in and pitted about 10 laps ago and put right side tires on that truck, thinking that might fix the problem. He said that even made it worse, believe it or not. He's so sideways, he said he can't even hold on to that truck. So a great start for that team tonight, but they're slowly dropping through the field with a terrible loose race truck.
Taylor Balsam, Brian Scott, Balsam on the bottom, Brian Scott up top.
It's a battle for the 10th spot.
Looks like Brian's got his truck a little bit tighter than he's had in the past. But Tyler Monson there, or Taylor, he's looks like he's starting to slowly go.
You see Brian grab a handful of steering wheel.
A little too early there.
Just maybe a touch.
Taylor's been doing a great job this year. I mean, they've been so close to having some really great finishes and just running into a couple little small problems.
So consistent though, but you know, Taylor usually finishes in the top 15 each and every race. A couple of times he's been taken out in action that's not of his making.
Check out the lead there in the 5. Mike Skinner out in front. He has led 120 laps. 14 times has he gone to victory lane after leading more than 100 laps. We'll find out if this is 15 for Mike Skinner. Lucas Oil 200. Join fellow NASCAR fans for Tuesday Chat at 12 with host Tom Jensen of SpeedTV.com. Next week, don't miss your chance to chat live with Shane Wilson, crew chief with Clint Boyer's number 33 Cheerio Chevrolet and Fox Sports Radio. Rob D'Amico. Tuesday chats at 12 every Tuesday at noon Eastern on SpeedTV.com. How about this? Lucas Oil 200. Lucas is involved in so many different aspects of racing.
You know, Morgan Lucas was here and actually gave the command to start the engines. I'm sorry, Forrest Lucas.
Right, Forrest
and Morgan, his son, won just a week or two ago in the top fuel in NHRA. So great season thus far for Morgan Lucas.
Impressive young man. We saw him
pretty good bobsledding.
Yeah, a couple of years back. Jeff Bodine. Skinner and Eric Almirola 1 and 2. It's 2.8 seconds that separate those two. Ron Hornaday has settled into third. I'm sure he hasn't settled, but he's in third currently. We want to drop back through our top 10. We will start with Ray Dunlap.
Thank you, Rick. Up front, Mike Skinner. You know, we just ran last week at Chicagoland, which was an inaugural event, and come right here for the first ever race at Iowa Speedway. So Mike Skinner said, I'm not going to go home in between those races. I'm going to take a little vacation with his wife, Angie. They jumped in the motorhome, headed their way from Chicagoland out to here, and Skinner played golf for 2 or 3 days. Said he had an excellent vacation. Adam?
And the man running right behind him, Eric Almirola. You would think with 6 consecutive races with a finish of 8th or better, running in the top 5 would be no big deal for this bunch. However, they have struggled throughout the weekend here in Iowa. Really didn't get the truck dialed in until final practice earlier this afternoon. Pit strategy has gotten them in the top 5, and they are poised for yet another great run here in the inaugural event at Iowa Speedway. And speaking of inaugural events, Ron Hornaday has won a Truck Series race 10 times when it was the first visit to a venue. It's going to be tough for him to get back to victory lane tonight, but he is going to continue his unbelievable string of short track finishes if he stays where he is. The point leader currently running third, Ray.
And you know, Adam, I certainly agree with what Phil and the guys in the booth were talking about when you start talking about that number 6 truck. What an unbelievable run for Colin Brown lately here in the second third of the season. But the big question is, what happens to Conway Freight? We still don't have an answer yet back from them whether they'll return to the Truck Series next year. We know that Colin Brown and Roush Fenway will not be here next year. He's going to be competing in the Nationwide Series. But we still don't have an answer yet about that sponsorship. Adam?
I think the same theme has held true throughout the night for Matt Crafton in this race, and that is disappointment. After qualifying today, this team really felt like this was their opportunity to take a big step in getting back in the championship hunt. They have had a good night running solidly in the top 5, but unfortunately, when they look at the scoreboard, Ron Hornaday 2 positions in front of him, and once again in position to gain points on the man who's second, Ray.
Well, what a battle we've got going on the racetrack right now between these 2 trucks. On the outside, TJ Bell having a great run tonight in that Red Horse Racing truck, and on the inside, it's the Fun Sand Chevrolet for Johnny Sauter. When we look at TJ Bell's stats, of course, his best career finish ever was a 5th at California, and there's a little bit of side-by-side and banging. They get a contact there with the left front of the 13. And when we look at Johnny Sauter, I was kidding with him a little bit before the race started. I said I'd love to see the lineup for the 2033 Daytona 500, because there's a pretty good chance there'll be a Sauter in it. Why is that? Well, Johnny and his wife Courtney are expecting a young boy coming up real soon. Adam?
Currently riding in the 8th position is Terry Cook. Here's a race car driver who has used pit strategy to his advantage tonight. They took only 2 tires on their last pit stop, right sides. That got them some good track position. And a top 10, no big deal for Terry Cook, because he's run in 4 inaugural races in his career. Every time he has finished in the top 10, including last week at Chicagoland, and he's in position to do it again here tonight, Ray.
Really great stats for Timothy Peters also since he's come over to Red Horse Racing. 5 of the last 6 races for this driver, a top 10 finish in that number 17. Having a real good battle out there with the number 81 throughout the course of the night. He and Taylor Malsom have been side by side a good bit of the evening. As we drop back to find Taylor, as I said earlier, he has a different paint scheme on that truck tonight with that PC Myler sponsorship. Now Taylor is supposed to leave here tomorrow morning and go to the West Coast to drive sprint cars for 3 or 4 days, but apparently the weather has been terrible out there, and it sounds like he's going to skip those sprint car races and head back to Charlotte, North Carolina. Guys?
Thanks a lot, guys. Great work down there on pit road. Ron Hornaday, we talked about him moving up toward the front, but holding on to that third spot. He actually had a close call here moments ago.
Watch this. He had actually driven up to the 15 truck, but got to the 08 right there and actually lost the front end of that truck a little bit and had to save it. Let's see. Watch from inside the truck, or from the roof of the truck, I should say. Remember, that's Eric Almirola, our second place truck right in front of him. Just got to that seam, Johnny.
He did. It looked like he got on that seam and it just twitched on him a little bit. Didn't lose a lot of time, but at that point in time you think, oh my gosh, at least I just saved the thing and we can keep moving forward.
Just hold your breath there for a second.
Catches his breath. We'll try to catch our breath as well, as Skinner has put 4.7 seconds between himself and Eric Almirola running second. Ron Hornaday third, Colin Brown and Matt Crafton are your top 5 of the Lucas Oil 200.
A lot of those guys out of their element a little bit on dirt.
Yeah, they're going sideways all the way around the racetrack.
Like Brian Scott here tonight.
Like Brian has been here at Iowa Speedway. Inside of the 12, that's Todd Bodine. Todd's had a difficult evening.
But it's great to see Lumber Liquidators back on that track, though, isn't it? He's going to be on several more races this year. Obviously, so much success with Germain Racing. Lumber Liquidators, Todd Bodine won the championship back a couple years ago.
And as hard as Todd Bodine battled to get back on the lead lap, here comes Mike Skinner to try to put him a lap down once again. Right now, Todd Bodine running 19th, so we have 19 trucks on the lead lap. And 30 laps to go.
Yeah, and as we can see, as we talked earlier, Mike Skinner has definitely dedicated himself to the bottom. I mean, he's right on the line, continues to pass just about anybody he wants right down there.
Side by side in front of Skinner.
I really like how the 2 tire strategy has worked for Eric Almirola.
It has, you know, and sometimes 2 tires can work for you and sometimes not. Now, at first, when he got beat by the 5 there at the start, I thought maybe he'd be in a little bit of trouble. He's been able to maintain it. Now we have seen other people do that, like Terry Cook, and he's fallen down to the 11th spot with that same strategy. So the 15 is in a little bit better shape on the chassis.
Ron Hornaday running in the 3rd spot. So he's trying to chase down Eric Almirola. Difference between those 2, half a second.
Or about that much.
Or about that far. Right along with Hornaday.
Now, Johnny, I know you've driven both Pikes Peak racetrack and the Richmond racetrack. And looking at this racetrack, it looks somewhat like a combination of the 2. I was talking to Mike Skinner, and he said it drives a lot like Richmond, except he said it's a little bit more forgiving up off of 2. He said you got a little bit more room up off of 2 than you do at Richmond. And it's going to get pinched off a little bit off of 2 at Richmond. He said there's a little bit more room here, but it also does have similarities to the Pikes Peak.
Well, I think it does, and I think the advantage of coming off turn 2 here as opposed to Richmond, it's not quite as tight, but you get that extra banking when you start to come up the hill. So the banking there is a definite positive.
It looks like the transitions into and out of the corners are really, really gradual here.
They are. I mean, I think that the biggest spot is in the center. You know, the biggest difference. But as you come in, it's pretty smooth. As you come off the corner, it's pretty smooth. And that's when you want it to be, is right there.
You see the speeds at the line where everyone's running. Skinner, 129 miles an hour. He is quickest on the track. And then we see Timothy Peters also going just over the 129 mark.
Yeah, he was actually a little bit quicker than Skinner that time. But you throw those 2 out, throw the high and low out, and then the rest of these guys are very, very comparable lap speeds.
Very close. A lot of 128s all the way down the list. Skinner just under 4 seconds. The difference between he and Eric Almirola. Can he do it again? Can Mike Skinner win an inaugural race? Well, we're about to find out. We'll be back for the checkered flag here at Iowa Speedway. Welcome back. Under 20 laps of racing to go in the Lucas Oil 200. Mike Skinner again holding on to about a 4.8 second lead over Eric Almirola. Now into a little more traffic, so that will come into play. See who gets through the traffic better.
Yeah, right now with only 17 laps to go, Eric Almirola is going to need a caution flag to do anything with Mike Skinner. He also has to worry about the 33 of Hornaday, who has been there since the restart.
Yeah, sometimes you hate to see a caution if Ron Hornaday's behind you, but we see the 6 starting to catch back up, and everybody's starting to get piled up here in traffic. It's going to start making a good race out of this here.
Matt Crafton running in the 5th position.
His teammate Johnny Sauter right behind him in 6th. TJ Bell continues to have a great run. He currently is being shown in the 7th position. Timothy Peters, another top 10 run going for him in 8th.
Colin Brown in that 6. Trying to agitate the 33 of Ron Hornaday. Adam?
And one thing the point leader does not want to do is have back-to-back bad nights. They struggled a bit last weekend in Chicagoland. They have rallied nicely here this evening and in position to get another top 5 finish. But here's something that's amazing for driver 33. He has not led a lap here tonight. On the season entering this race, 749 circuits out front. That was 29% of the laps led in 2009. Had Ron Hornaday out front, but he's not had the field in tow this evening, Ray.
You know, Adam, Mike Skinner is going for win number 27. His last victory came at Kansas City, but you'll remember that was the race where we got rained out and weren't able to finish it. Skinner said, I'll take a win anytime I can get one, but he wasn't real happy about it that day. I think he'll be very happy about how dominant his truck was tonight. And how about his crew chief, Eric Phillips? Eric Phillips will have 9 victories if they hold on to get this win, and that'll put him in a tie with Jeff Hensley and Danny Rollins.
Look how relaxed Eric Phillips looks up there on the pit box.
You know, some of the wins that Eric Phillips has had in this series was with Dennis Setzer. I wanted to give a shout out to Dennis. He has started in 267 consecutive Camping World Truck Series races prior to tonight. His team owner Dave Malcolm decided to take a couple weeks off, and I think he may miss next week at St. Louis, but he's going to be back with Dennis Setzer, but unfortunately he's not here. We'd love to have him here.
So that streak ended. Here's some teammates battling for position, and I'm guessing that Johnny Sauter, well, this is for a top 5 finishing position, so Johnny Sauter is going to be going after this, but at the same time, as we see Colin Brown trying to move to the inside of that 33 of Ron Hornaday.
Look at here, with 10 laps to go, 11 laps to go, side by side for 3rd, side by side for 5th.
Championship points on line once again. As I'm trying to say that the 88 of Matt Crafton has his teammate taking points away from him right now if he goes by. But at the same time, Colin Brown's going to take points away from Ron Hornaday.
That's kind of a tough deal because they're both, you know, you're trying to go out there, you're trying to race for your team as best you can. It's one of races, but yeah, when you've got the point leader guy right dead in front of you, it'd be nice for you to go up there and challenge him for that spot.
Johnny Sauter's still going for a top 5 spot, though.
Oh, absolutely not. I don't think any stretch of the imagination should he have backed off and let Matt Crafton have that position. You know, we can get down to the end of the season. If this was the last race of the year, ooh, caution flags out. No, that 5-second lead is going to evaporate.
Debris on the front stretch. And Rick Wren pops up off the pit box. We know how good Ron Hornaday is at restarts. So can he get by Mike Skinner with a limited number?
Well, that's a guy right there, Eric Phillips, that's probably not the happiest person here.
Mike's probably a little madder than him, and we know Ron Hornaday on his restarts, anything can happen. Looks like Mike Skinner's truck is good enough to do that. But when you're talking, we go back green, there's only going to be a handful of laps. All it does is take to get in front of him, and then you just have to deal with it for a little bit.
So a shootout is what we will see at Iowa Speedway in this first ever race for the Camping World Truck Series. Mike Skinner, this is crew chief Eric Phillips.
Anything can happen on these restarts, so you can spin the tires. You can, you know, again, these are going to be older tires. These guys aren't going to come in and put tires on. So you could spin the tires, miss a gear, so anything can happen.
And it's single file restart.
Guy in second is on 2 tires as opposed to 4. That sometimes can make a difference on this little bit of restart.
The nice thing for Mike Skinner, though, is one of the nice things is the fact that Ron Hornaday lost that 3rd spot prior to the caution flag coming out. So right now he will have to restart in the 4th spot. We've seen him restarting and actually pass the 6th of Colin Brown on a couple different restarts. He'll have to try to do the same thing, but he's not going to have a whole lot of time to do it, Ray.
Well, let's hear from Eric Phillips. Skinner making you laugh a little bit, and me too, but my question is he going to be okay here, even though we're going to have a short run to the end?
I think so. I mean, our truck's been the best on the short runs. You know, the longer runs, it's gotten a little tight, but it seems to really have some speed on a short run. Just cool everything down and gets a good restart. We should be fine. Had a good truck. Thanks to all these guys. Toyota of Des Moines for sponsoring this weekend just down the road. So we appreciate all their help.
All right, thank you, Eric. And guys, Skinner was just talking about the debris out there on the racetracks, what was making us laugh. I want to go to the other end of the pit road and check in with my buddy Adam, who's calling the race tonight on his anniversary.
That's right. Ron Hornaday restarting 4th. His crew chief is Rick Wren. You glad to see the caution, or would you have rather just rode this one out?
No, I think right now we got pretty tight on that long run. Probably this caution's in our favor. Cool tires off and make a last ditch run at it. We've been able to get that 6 on a restart before. Nobody's got anything for the 5. He's pretty stellar, but I'll tell you, the boys on this 33 team have had a pretty rough 2 days because we haven't been very good. I'm going to get my hats off to my guys and Hornaday, because I'll tell you what, they put this Longhorn Chevrolet back up front, and I didn't know if we could do it, but I think this caution's in our favor. We'll see what the restart master will do here.
15th to 4th, how aggressive do you want him to be here?
I'd like to have a top 3, but as long as it's in the top 5, it's still not a bad day.
All right, he's got a smile on his face now. They're coming to 1 to go. We'll see if he's got a smile on his face in about 5 laps. That's Rick Wren.
You know, it's funny, I saw Rick Wren right after the 4th practice yesterday, and I said, how you doing, Rick? He's always, you know, in a good mood. He said, not too good right now. But obviously that truck a whole lot better than it was.
It was. I've worked with Rick Wren for a couple of years, and he definitely goes through some anti-acids here in these races. But he's got to be proud from where they started to where they are, winning a championship, leading a championship. He's having a great year. Shouldn't be too nervous about this.
Of course, Matt Crafton, who was 220 points behind Ron in the points championship race, is still behind Ron Hornaday on the racetrack now. So not chipping away at that lead as the number of races continue to dwindle down and the opportunities for him to catch up.
We're going to restart this race with 4 laps to go here. It's going to be really interesting to see what kind of moves Ron Hornaday may be able to make. Eric Almirola right now lurking in 2nd, looking for his first win ever in the Camping World Truck Series.
Rule out Eric Almirola, extremely strong.
Look at Rick.
Take another one of those rollers.
That bottle's half gone.
And a big smile on his face. Yep.
And earlier you said he was calm. It was a sign of relief. But you can see a lot of the guys trying to knock all the marbles off tires, gets a little bit of heat into them, make sure there's no debris on them, because when they go green here, it's going to be a pretty quick battle here.
4 laps of racing to go. Who will win the inaugural race at Iowa Speedway? Guy in the driver's seat up front, Mike Skinner gets the green flag. We're back to racing. 4 to go.
Great restart by Mike Skinner. Crowd on their feet for these last 4 laps.
Cheering them all on as they go by the grandstands. Mike Skinner with a great restart. He's got 2 truck links, now 3 between he and Eric Almirola.
I think that pace was a little faster than Ron Hornaday wanted to see. And he normally gets at least 1 spot before he gets in the middle of 1-2. Right now, it doesn't look like he's got it. Go ahead, Ray.
Skinner says he's out of gas. He said the truck just bobbled right there. He thought he was out of fuel. It doesn't look like he's slowing down anymore. Eric said just keep in the gas and do whatever you can.
He doesn't look like he's bobbled yet, as he has just 2 to go inside of 2 miles for Mike Skinner when he crosses the start-finish line. Will he be able to make it all the way?
I think the problem he would have would be on the straightaway, because in the corner the fuel goes all the way over to the pickup. See, Eric's pretty nervous about it.
He is. You know, I'm sure once you mention that, that's something that you definitely are worried about. But we've seen this before. Under sometimes a caution, especially hotter days, they'll fumble just a little bit. But it doesn't look like there's going to be a problem for Mike.
White
at least we hope.
flag in the air. Skinner crosses the start-finish line. Eric Almirola 2nd. Colin Brown is 3rd. Final lap. Can Skinner hold on?
Does he have enough fuel? I think if he can get to turn 3, I think he's going to be okay.
Into turn 3. He's got a huge lead over second. Mike Skinner coming out of turn number 4. He will win the first ever race at Iowa Speedway.
Great side-by-side battle for third. Colin Brown holds off the 33 of Hornaday.
It's the 7th time that Mike Skinner has won a race in the inaugural visit to a racetrack, trying to catch up to that 33 of Ron Hornaday. So Skinner again victorious. That's his 27th win in the Camping World Truck Series.
And second this season.
Mike Skinner will enjoy the spoils. He's the winner of the Lucas Oil 200. I'm sure a breath of fresh air and a sigh of relief is what Eric Phillips had when he crossed the start-finish line, and he is with Ray Dunlap.
Well, I don't know. Can you make it any more nervous than that? When he came on the radio and said, "I'm out of gas," I thought you were going to pass out.
Yeah, I've been about ready to throw up most of the day. Not very often you have as good a truck as we've had tonight and all weekend. We unloaded yesterday, and that thing's been really fast, and we worked on it, and it's just just happy to get back to victory lane. We've had a rough couple weeks here, had good trucks and just dumb luck, and just happy to be back. Thanks to PC Myler, Exide, and Toyota Des Moines, and all these guys on this Randy Moss Motorsports team.
Congratulations, another win for Eric Phillips. He gets win number 9 tonight here at Iowa Speedway.
Mike Skinner will be making his way to victory lane once again. 27 wins in this series. Won the first ever race the Truck Series ran. And by the way, he was driving that number 3 Goodwrench Chevrolet. Tonight, the 3 was piloted by Austin Dillon. The Lucas Oil 200 winner, Mike Skinner, is headed to victory lane. We'll hear from him right after the break. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Toyota. For the latest Toyota racing information, visit toyotaracing.com. Toyota, moving forward. By Lumber Liquidators, hardwood floors for less. And by Camping World's Destination Recreation Sweepstakes. Log on to campingworld.com/racing to enter this week's weekly giveaway. It is one of 5 Adventurer folding bikes. Stay tuned right after our coverage. AMA Pro Motocross here on Speed. Yeah, that's coming up next. But before we go there, let's hear from our winner, who's in victory lane, and Ray Dunlap.
And here comes Mike Skinner climbing out of this Toyota of Des Moines Tundra. The gunslinger is back to victory lane. And here he comes in with Angie. You gotta love it when these guys get to victory lane. Big fun, no doubt about that. Mike, Kansas City was a win, no doubt. Kansas City was a win in the record book, but tonight was a win in total domination. How good does it feel?
This one only took a couple hours. Last one took 3 days. I'll tell you, this Tundra, John Dysinger, those guys up there, I'm gonna tell you something. They do such a fantastic job, and this team, David Dollar, Randy Moss, you better call me. It was just awesome. Toyota of Des Moines, Exide Batteries, PC Myler Navigator, folks, was up here tonight, and they was nice enough to help out Taylor on his truck, and man, it's awesome.
I want to tell you, Mike, we just about all passed out down here with Eric and everyone when you said I'm out of gas.
Well, the motor died coming off 4 there. I don't know if it was a pickup thing or if it vapor locked or what it did. It just quit, and it quit off of 2, and then it quit again off of 4, and the pressure went all the way down. I think it might have boiled some fuel or something, but I just nursed her along there, and this thing was so fast through the corner, it didn't matter what it was doing on straightaway.
Big smiles down here. Mike Skinner gets win number 37. 27, right? Sorry, guys. Adam?
And Ron Hornaday in the top 5 once again after starting 15th. I'm sure there were some anxious moments. Talk about your night. Another solid run, Ron.
No, I think the guys done a great job. We didn't have the truck to beat, and Skinner definitely had the dominant truck, and the guys worked hard on Longhorn Chevrolet. So come up to the pack like we did. I mean, I thought I was pretty good that second set of tires we were really fast on, and catch some of the guys and just be loose getting in and then tied off. So we learned a bunch. We'll put them in our notebook and we'll come back with a better piece. So it's been a struggle for the last 2 days. These guys worked their guts out. So that's why this KHI team's pretty championship caliber. I love racing with them. They pump me up, Rick Frelly and everybody up there. It's a lot of fun. So we'll get them. We'll take a top 5.
8 races to go, and you add 5 points to your advantage over Crafton. A quick thought on the championship.
I don't know how I did that. He led a lap, and we only got 1 spot on him, so I don't know how he did that. But no, it's just they're pretty good. I mean, I thought they were going to be the trucks to beat all day, all weekend, I should say. And these guys made great changes. And like I said, I'll take this Longhorn Chevrolet. I think VFW, Copart, everybody's been involved. That has been a lot of fun. And we're still going. We got, what, 8 more to go?
That's right. 8 to go. 2:25 the lead for Hornaday, going to St. Louis next week, where he won a year ago.
Take a look at the point standings. Unofficially, Ron Hornaday with a 225-point lead, and he spelled it out for us. Matt Crafton led a lap, and Matt Crafton finished 2 spots back, so there's the 5 points that he was able to gain at this racetrack. Eric Phillips couldn't believe himself when Mike Skinner said he ran out of fuel, but then the celebration began. Across the start-finish line, 27 wins in the Camping World Truck Series for the gunslinger, Mike Skinner. $25,000 of those loyal fans were able to enjoy Mike Skinner winning the first ever Camping World Truck Series race here at Iowa Speedway in the Lucas Oil 200. Let's take a look at tonight's Stay in the Game with Just for Men hair color moments. How about young Austin Dillon?
We see him right before the race here with Mike Skinner, who drove that truck, the number 3 truck for 2 years, won the inaugural championship back in 1995.
Strong early on in his run here at Iowa Speedway. Then a little bit of a problem, an issue.
A little bit of a hiccup here. Got inside of Timothy Peters, lost the air off the spoiler, turned it around, but kept it out of the wall. Stayed with it, put some new tires on that truck, and did some great racing. He raced just about from the time we started till the time we got to the end, and it resulted with a great 12th place finish in his first ever Camping World Truck Series race.
Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. How about that trophy for your Lucas Oil 200 winner?
Very, very cool trophy.
It plugs in too. The light on the top, it lights up. They had that in the media center earlier. We were able to take a closer look at that. Let's go back down trackside to Adam Alexander.
Career best finish tonight for Eric Almirola, and the key for you was those 2 tires you took on that late pit stop.
Yeah, it was. Our first stop was pretty bad, and we just lost so much track position, and I knew we had to get it back. I told Doug we had to get it back somehow, some way. So we took 2 tires, and that was a great call on Doug's part to get us back up there. And man, I just want to thank Graceway Pharmaceuticals for coming back on board this weekend. Billy Blue's just trying everything he can to get this race truck to the racetrack every single weekend, and Graceway Pharmaceuticals stepped up big for us. So just want to thank them and thank these fans, man. What an awesome racetrack, and the fans here are just awesome. They're just so enthusiastic.
And the fans saw Colin Brown come home 3rd. Quickly talk about another top 5 for you.
Well, it was a great run for the number 6 Conway Ford F-150. You know, hats off to my guys. They worked their butts off yesterday. We made 30 runs in practice, and we just struggled yesterday. They did a great job on pit road today, and it was just cool to be out there in front of all these fans. It was a great race.
Another great night in the points for the 6 Bunch, guys.
Well, I think we heard the word a few times. They're great. I mean, the performance by, obviously, the drivers on the racetrack. The fans saw a great race.
A great event, too, here at Iowa Speedway. What a big year it's been for them with the first ever Nationwide Series race here. Now the first ever Camping World Truck Series.
The Truck Series continues its Midwest swing. Next week, Ron Hornaday looks to repeat last year's dominating performance in St. Louis with a follow-up win this year. With championship contenders in close pursuit, Hornaday leads the charge into Gateway International Raceway next Saturday. Catch all the action starting with the setup at 2, only on Speed. Be there.